everyone, welcome to On the Other Hand. I'm Ariane Zurcher, and I am getting ready for my artist residency in France, which means that things are in a little more chaos even than usual. I've got a suitcase directly in front of me that has just stuff piled on it, things I'm thinking of taking. So as the days go by, I sort of take things back and think, no, I better not take that. It's too heavy, or it's taking up too much space, or whatever. So I just thought, the house is quiet, which, it almost never is. And I thought, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll just turn on the video camera and just start talking and figure it out. So I'm going to France for an artist residency for 2 weeks, which is really exciting. This was in the making back when COVID first hit. I found out I was supposed to go in April, I think. We went into lockdown in March, and all bets were off. So then they reached out to me and said, okay, so that's not happening, but we're taking perhaps a later date. So I said, oh, well, what about July? Thinking, we'll be through this by then, right? Not sure what I was thinking. Anyway, so booked it in July. Of course, that didn't happen. And then finally, now it's happening. And I kind of can't believe it. So I'm going to Paris for a week, and then 2 weeks in at a chateau 3 hours east of Paris. I talked about this on another video, and someone wrote and said, that they had to laugh because I so casually sort of talked, 3 hours east of Paris, and they were saying how distances like that just are ridiculously far. And of course, in the US, driving 3 hours is like nothing. I mean, people do that for work. It's crazy. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to be doing that. And then, gosh, what else? Oh, okay. So I submitted 2 pieces to an art exhibit. My Remembering My Mother, the big piece that many of you have seen me work on, that I actually added some applique pieces of linen that were inspired by Kuba cloth. And then I submitted a smaller piece called Flow, which was the 3rd piece that I did of this kind of improvisational style of stitching that I'm doing. And I got the letter that neither one had been accepted. And I kind of thought, it felt a little like I'd been kicked in the gut, And then I went into this thing of, oh, you're not really very talented. You shouldn't be doing this. And then I kind of stopped myself and I said, wait a second. That's crazy. I mean, first of all, who knows what they're looking for, or who the jurors are and what they're interested in or not interested. I mean, it's all so subjective, right? And when friends of mine who are actors or writers or any of the arts really, they submit pieces and they get rejected all the time. And I don't think, oh, well, that's really, that makes me change my mind about them. No. I always think, wow, I'm so surprised they didn't get in, or I'm so surprised that, I'll look at a movie, my husband and I will watch a movie, and I'll think, how did this even get made? Like, who greenlit this? And so it's so subjective, because obviously someone looked at it and said, this is amazing, we got to make this. Meanwhile, I'm looking at it and thinking, why? So it's all subjective. And the reason I'm even talking about this is because I think that whenever I feel ashamed, and that was the thing, I felt shame. I felt like no one must know. So I thought, no, that is wrong. This is life. This is, whether it's art or anything else, we get rejected. Some people think that what we're doing is of value. Other people think it's awful. It's okay. It just I keep coming back to the Big Lebowski, well, that's your opinion, man. It's like, okay, but I don't need to have that define me. I don't need it to stop me. I don't need it to say anything about me at all. It's not about me. It's objectively about the work. And for whatever reason, it didn't get in, and that's fine. And it doesn't mean that I'm a terrible artist or I have no value or that what I'm doing isn't cool or fun or, so I just wanted to throw that out there because it's funny where not funny, haha, it's interesting how quickly I can go to a dark place with this stuff. And my mind will go to ways where I'm suddenly defining my talent or my lack of talent or my artistic expression. And I think one has to be really, really careful, doing that. When you put your work out there, people are inevitably there are going to be some people who love it, and that's wonderful. And there are going to be people who hate it, and that's fine. I don't love all work that I see. There's plenty of work that I don't like. But when I see something I love, that's really special. It moves me, it moves me to my core. And that's such an amazing feeling. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I don't need this to define me. It doesn't define me. It's one show. I didn't get in. Was I disappointed? Sure, I was. But it's kind of like you got to just shake it off. You really do. You have to just shake it off and keep going. And let it motivate, let this motivate me. Let this motivate me to strive for even more, to do more, to break down the barriers of my fear, to just keep chipping away and doing what I love and expressing myself in a way that I love and putting it out there, and it's fine. It's fine. If you see my work and you hate it, there's so many other people you can follow. There's so many other places you can go to look at cool stuff that you do like, None of us have to be trapped and forced to look at things that we don't care for. So back to the stitching. So yesterday I played around with my buttons because I'm doing this upcoming workshop. So I played around with that. I played around with some improv stitching. Yeah, I'll turn you around and I'll just start stitching on something. I don't really have anything. I've got this big piece. I don't dare start stitching on it because every time I stitch on it, I end up taking it out because I'm still sort of layering. So I'm going to save that. I'm bundling it up. I'm going to put it in the suitcase. I'm taking it with me to France, to the Residency. And that's the piece I'm going to work on and just embrace the process. So I think I'll just grab something and small and just play. So you can come with me if you feel like it. This is my little pile. You can see the suitcase is empty, thankfully. So I've got like paintbrushes and some stuff. This is some things that a friend of mine sent me. And she said she really liked using them, but they're oil-based, and I guess they smell, and so I can't really use them here in this enclosed area, but I thought, well, I'll bring them and play around with them because I'll have some time to do that. And then I've got my Caran d'Ache, which I like using, and I've got some sponges and stencils, and I've got some cork and some dyed velvet, and I'm going to bring some of this bark and a little bag of miscellaneous stuff. And so that's where I'm going with that. We'll see how much of this I actually take. I don't know. We'll see. So this is a little piece of my hand-dyed linen that I did. I did an ice dyeing experiment, and this is one of them. This is also one of the pieces of linen that comes in the fabric kit for the upcoming Stitch Along workshop. In any case, I thought, I'll just play with it. And I have this piece, this little bit of silk cocoon, and it's kind of cool. It kind of goes with in keeping with the colors here. I'm not sure where I would put it, but I thought, well, that might be fun. This is a little button, one of these, I think they're called Swernkopf buttons. So I've been playing around with that and trying to sort of figure out different ways to make these. I don't know. And then I've got some ribbon here that would be fun. So, I'm just gonna, just gonna do something in here. I think what I'll do, maybe I'll just do a couple ribbon roses in here. If you don't know how to do a ribbon rose, I have done a video, but you do like a colonial knot, but you give yourself like a little bit of, what is that, like an inch? Yeah, so in centimeters, it's like 3 centimeters or so. And then you do a running stitch right down the center. It's a fun little stitch to do when you have just a little excess ribbon and you're not sure what to do with it. And how pretty that ribbon is on here. So I'm gonna do just a little cluster, I think. One of the things about, just starting to stitch on something new is not getting ahead of myself. The minute I start saying, well, what are you going to do next? And I haven't even finished doing this stitch, that gets me in trouble. That's when the fear starts to creep in. That's when the doubt starts to creep in. Well, should you really have done that ribbon rose? I don't know. That voice. And that voice always needs to be the volume turned down, because part of the joy of stitching for me is expressing myself for sure, but also just being in the moment, just going with whatever's happening, And so right now I'm doing a little cluster of these, and I'm going to untwist this so I'm not twisting it up. And then I'm going to figure out the next thing. And maybe the next thing is I do some layering, or maybe the next thing is, well, I don't know. I don't know what the next thing is because I'm not there yet. So it's really about staying where I am. So this ribbon, not sure what's happening. It's kind of doubling up on me. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to go with that. So there's a little cluster. And maybe I'll do like just a little French knot here. And then I'm going to end because I really don't have enough to do much more. So I'll end my thread and I'll find some new thread. All right, so I ended my ribbon, and I had this lying around. So I thought, well, that goes. So let me stitch in something in here. One of the things I wanted to say was, when I don't know what I'm doing, which is pretty much all the time, I'll say, well, let me just pick a thread that's kind of in the background color. And I'm actually going to change this to a Milner's, because I'm going to do a tendril here. And so I say to myself, well, I don't know what I'm doing, so let me do something in a background color thread, because that's always safe. It's not a big commitment, but it often will get me just going. So it's a little like, if any of you ever remember The Artist's Way by, was it Julia Cameron was her name? I can't remember. But she wrote this book, and it was really for writing, but and it was all about, just write for 20 minutes. And it's just going to be nothing that you care about. It's just the exercise of writing for 20 minutes. So background stitching is kind of my exercise. It's like doing the scales. You just do it. You don't think about anything really in particular. And you just let yourself stitch something, anything. Who cares? And then from there, you move forward. So you kind of bounce from that to something else, to something else, to something else. So this is a Bullion Tendril. If you don't know about Bullion Tendrils, I love making them. They're so much fun. And I did a video on, on making them. So there's that. By the way, this is one of the few times that a hoop is really, I find, very helpful. And I actually think I'm going to grab mine and use it. I could have made it a little longer. The longer they get, the more they get kind of curvy, and that's cool looking. I've got a really little one. I don't know who makes it. I'll put the link in the description section. But I like Morgan, but Morgan doesn't make that small. But what I love about Morgan is they've got a groove right here, and then they've got a ridge, and that's really helpful for grabbing the fabric. And even with this little hoop, it's still, I've got the edge coming off, but I think it's enough. Okay, so I'm going to do another little tendril here. I like varying the lengths of them. Just think it kind of adds. I don't know that I have enough thread. This always happens to me. I think, oh, I want to do this stitch, and then I run out. And I really have run out of thread. So I'm just going to pull it through and see what happens. Worst case scenario, I take it out. And that definitely isn't long enough. That's barely a tendril. I mean, that really isn't a tendril. So I'm going to end it. I'll grab another piece and I'll do a really long one. That's okay. This is a silk and pearl from the Thread Gatherer. I actually don't remember what the color is. I'm threading this on a number 3 Milner's. And the tendrils require a lot of thread. So I typically do up about a yard at a time to ensure that I can get more than a couple on here, Even so, a yard will not give me much. So I'll go over here. And it's okay to pull it right out, so you have a long needle to wrap this on. It doesn't matter. Okay, that's like probably somewhere upwards of 50 wraps. And that'll do a little twisting and turning. Absolutely have to have pliers to do these. I cannot do this without them. And then when it starts to really pull like this and kind of do this, that's okay. I'll make it work. You just keep putting those wraps down. And then as you go, you can kind of do this and make them behave and not be quite so unruly. My daughter just got up. She's so funny. She's the most cheerful person in the world. She wakes up and she's so cheery. So you can see how much this that was 50 wraps, and look at that. Not so much. The other thing about the tendrils are the type of thread you use really makes a difference in the results you get. So the silk pearl from the Thread Gather it's nice, but the stuff that I love doing tendrils with is actually Steph Francis's rayon. I'll show you. I'll do the next one in that, because these, well, there he goes. Get that little thing. I'm going to actually end this and switch to a different thread. I'm going to switch to Steph Francis. I'll show you which one that is. Okay, so let me go get it. This is the thread I love, 1800 rayon from Steph Francis. And, that's pretty good. I'm going to do a bit of this, and I'll tie my quilter's knot at the bottom. And I'll show you the difference. So, okay, that's fine. I think I'll do another little group kind of starting here, emanating out. Again, it doesn't matter. Unlike a regular bullion, you can pull the needle right out. I usually leave it in and just start wrapping. And then I pull it so that it's out and so that I have more room on the needle to wrap. And then I'll just wrap and fill this up. And I'm going to keep pulling. And then I just do you see how it gets all curly? I love that. So that's one. I'll do a bunch of these. So again, I'm not thinking about what I'm doing next. I'm just thinking about this stitch that I'm doing right here. I just, they say stay in your lane. That's what I'm doing. I'm staying in my lane. I'm just going to do this, and then I'll do another one, and maybe I'll do 5 of them. I don't know. And then I'll look at the whole thing, and then I'll maybe add some other elements, some layering. Maybe I'll do, I don't know, something. But whatever I do, I take it one step at a time, and I don't get ahead of myself. And that's what's really key to this process. Don't get ahead of myself. So I hope this was fun and helpful and, gave you some ideas of what you might do. I don't know what I'm doing with this piece. I don't even, I just grabbed a piece of material, started stitching. That's really the most important thing. Just grab something and start. And I don't need to figure it out. I don't need to know what I'm doing. I don't need to have great lofty ideas or plans for it. I just need to get something going. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, let's keep stitching together.